one of the gems of the industry. So we're going to spend some time tonight talking with them. We're going to conduct an interview with them, and I'm going to try to ask them some questions that I've come up with that I think you would all like to know. And then what we'll do is at the end, we're going to have a question and answer period. So if there's anything I didn't ask that you need to know, you can write out your questions, and we'll have them come up to the front. Because again, we're recording this for you. So if I can read the questions and I can get their answers on the audio tape and on the video, it'll be much easier for you to look at it and listen to it later, right? And I promise we'll give enough time to you so that you can get all your questions answered. Does that sound okay? Okay, so let's turn our cell phones to silent. If we need to go to the bathroom, which is always very important, you're going to go out those doors and to your right, and they'll be on your left-hand side. So if you guys can help me welcome Tina and Marlene up to the front. And there's stairs over there, ladies. Or not. All right. You guys need some water?
Yes.
We need a water boy. Or something like that, right? All right. So is our feed still going okay out there? All right. So people are going to get a treat. So you're not just talking to everybody here. You're talking to everybody out there on the internet as well.
So we can shout out to Larry and
Give your shout outs to whoever you want to. Whether they're watching or not, we just won't know.
Oh, they are. They told us.
Okay, gotcha. So Larry and Janet. Does everybody say hi to Larry and Janet? Coachella
Hi,
Valley.
Larry. Hi, Janet.
Coachella Valley. Perfect. I was going to get to my notes here. So first, let's start out by introducing yourselves so they know who's who. Start with you.
I'm Tina Hartman.
And I'm Marlene Waterhouse, and I work for Tina.
You work for Tina?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. So
Thank you.
the name of your company is Short Sale Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
When did the two of you start in the real estate investing business? Hard to remember that far back.
We've both done investing individually, owning our own rental properties. We came together about 5 years ago and started in short sales, trying to do them more as investments.
Okay.
That was about 5 years ago.
About 5 years ago. And what was your investing experience, Marlene, up to that point?
I had several rental properties. I had a rental property, and I did a 1031, and then moved it into another property. And this was like in the 90s when, you know, I stripped the money out of my condo, bought my house, and in 1990, then everything fell apart, and we're like, you know, we're upside down forever. So when it finally righted itself, then we did a 1031 and moved it out to another property.
So were you in another field before you got into real estate investing?
Motherhood.
Okay. Listen, that's a tough gig, man. Anybody out there can back me up on that. I mean, listen, I got Desitin under my fingernails right now. Trust me, when you're changing diapers and taking care of the house. So you went from being a full-time mom, running the whole house. So this must feel like a breeze now. You're still dealing with kids.
Well, we full-time mom and then teacher
Okay.
Because we homeschooled.
all the way through. So we got them-
Fantastic. And both of you homeschool, right?
Yeah.
And so both of you were in similar backgrounds. Is that how you guys
We
ended
were
up meeting?
friends prior to all of this.
That'll all change now, right? You
No,
were friends.
we're actually still friends.
That's actually, we could stop the interview right there. They work together and they're still friends. That's a no mean feat, especially in this business.
And I will have to say some of our mothering skills has translated to our business.
Clearly, I was going to say, you know, I have a lot of tenants, and I said they're just all my children now, right?
Well, I've been known to put negotiators on timeout, so.
Fair enough. So I'm going to put that here, timeout
I do.
chair. Timeout chair for your negotiators. So when you started 5 years ago, you know, really at that time, so we're talking right about 2007, short sales had really just started to reemerge because from my experience, the last time that short sales prior to this last, 6-7 year period was the late 90s. And so most of the people that knew anything about short sales were now out of the business. And then enter in all the regulation on a state level and a federal level. So I got to ask, how nuts were you guys in trying to go after short sales? What was their process there?
Well, we actually never knew we were starting a business. So we did it on a personal level.
Okay.
And then a friend of ours who was an agent at one point said, hey, why don't you just negotiate mine for me? Because he was really good at getting other people to do stuff.
Oh,
And,
delegator.
Yeah, and so we took that on, and a business was born at that moment.
So you started off just wanting to do it, like some of us. How many of you out there do a couple flips a year? Raise your hand. Okay. So maybe you thought, hey, we'll do a couple transactions, see how it works out. And then your agent friend suggested a different path for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So negotiating for other people. Now, how long did that start working out for you that way?
We had a meeting with him because we were doing it on the investment side. It was really tough in the beginning because the banks couldn't figure out what a short sale even was and how to handle it. And then we met with him, and he said, would you be interested in negotiating mine? And we're like, oh, well, sure. We're doing it for us. Why don't we do it for them? And how can we, create some revenue off of this? And so he sent 12 files and says, here you go. And that was the birth of the business. And since then, it's just been, our business actually has been 100% referral based, so we haven't ever really stretched out in marketing until recently.
So I know that, wholesalers and rehabbers have their certain niches that they like to market to. Where does your bulk of your business come from? Is it from agents, or is it from other investors, or the homeowners themselves? Where do you guys identify that most of your business comes from?
We get business from all three sectors: investors, homeowners, and agents. But our primary source is agents.
So heavily weighted toward agents.
Mm-hmm. About 60 to 70% of them are agent driven right now.
And is that something, you said it's by referral, so at this point you don't seek them out as much as, is it them coming to you because they just are stumped on how to get a short sale done?
In the beginning, it was referral. Like our one agent, we were doing a good job for him, and then he would tell people, and it just grew. If we would get a new agent from a different office, all of a sudden we'd end up with 6 agents in that office just because word of mouth. But now we are actively marketing towards agents. So it's now there's thought behind what we're doing.
Right. You're actually targeting it. Mm-hmm. That's a good problem to have if you're getting referrals from one agent and it blooms into 6. So we were talking a little bit at dinner, and I wanted to just kind of go through a few things that I think I know about short sales, and you guys quickly schooled me and told me, no, that's not the way it works. Because to be honest with you, the last time I really looked at short sales with any interest was probably in the late 90s. A lot of people were making a good living then, but then during this last cycle, I wasn't in a position where I really wanted to learn a whole new strategy, which is what I consider short sales to be. So here's what I have found, and here's what I think about short sales. The only way you can get a short sale is to be delinquent on your mortgage. So is that true?
I'll take that one. That is an untruth.
So it's not true.
It is not true.
So I don't have to miss 1, 2, or 3 payments. It seems like 90 days is like everybody's told me, you got to be 90 days delinquent or you can't get a short sale. That's not true.
That is not true. We have successfully negotiated short sales for homeowners that have never missed a payment. We have also given them the opportunity to receive an incentive from the lender, and then they're able to move out of their home and transition into either purchasing a brand new home or a new property because they're eligible for an FHA financing if they haven't missed payments, and or they choose to rent and kind of pool their money and then wait for them, either wait for the market or decide to get a bigger down payment or whatever.
So I heard you say 2 things there, which, again, this is new to me, so if I'm slow on the uptake, okay? So you're telling me I don't have to be delinquent, and I can buy another house even though I just did a short sale. In other words, I didn't give the lender everything they were owed. I can get another loan.
Provided the rest of their credit looks okay.
So all things being equal,
If they have stellar credit and they never missed a payment, a short sale does not kill their credit and they can qualify for
what's
an
the
FHA.
seasoning period after I do that?
The day after your short sale closes?
Did that surprise any of you? So that one day after their short sale closes, if they have a good debt to income, right? We're not throwing all the other requirements out.
right.
But the fact that they just sold short the last lender, you're telling me there's another one waiting right there that'll give them another loan. Is that shocking to anybody else? Like, I can't get my head around that. I believe you because I know you're doing it, but that just completely destroys all the conceptions that I've had up to this point, that you had to be delinquent, and that if you did a short, it was, here's the old concept, right? Short sale or foreclose. Well, if you short sale, it's better than a foreclosure because instead of 7 years to get off your record and have all this nonsense, it's a couple years before you can get a loan. Has anybody else ever heard that? That's always been what I've kind of subscribed to because, again, I don't do short sales, but I thought, hey, all things being equal, I'd rather just foreclose and ride that sucker out as long as I could if I can't get financed anyway.
We're talking two different types of homeowners here.
Oh,
There's
totally.
the homeowners
Well,
that are in the financial hardship that is their choice.
Yeah.
But what a lot of homeowners who aren't in that situation, what they don't realize is they still can get out of their, out from under their current house and move on.
Now, see, that right there is very fascinating to me because now we're talking about somebody, you called it strategic short sale. So think about this. A lot of us were at the I Survived event, and Bruce Norris flashed a picture on the screen that says, and he showed a pretty beat down house. You guys remember that? And he said, we paid $64,000 for that house. The problem is the guy across the street owes $360,000. And that's going to create a problem for somebody down the road. So here you are, you're living across the street, and the house across the street from you sells at a drastic discount. You're not delinquent. You have good credit. You've been following the rules. So now they can come to you and elect to look at a strategic short sale.
The qualification that a homeowner needs for that is you have to have a hardship for a short sale. So what most people assume is that the hardship has to be financial.
Okay.
But it can be any, typically with something like this, we'll use relocation as the hardship. We've done them for people who have growing families and they need a larger home. We've done it in reverse, people whose children have all moved out and they wanted to downsize, people who moved to a different school district, people who had gang problems and they needed to leave the area.
How about these people that only could afford to live, let's say, nothing wrong with it, guys, in the Inland Empire, all right? Nothing wrong with it. But now they look at with the drops in price, they could actually move to Orange County, where maybe they work in Orange County and they've lived out in Inland Empire because of that. So that may qualify as a hardship, relocation.
Right.
Again, I don't do your job, but I'm just trying to think. That's amazing because I've recounted a story to you just recently where a couple were told to go delinquent, and they did, and then they still didn't get approved for their short sale, and so they had to pony up that 90 days worth of payment. So now they had a ding now on their credit, and they still didn't get out of the property, and that's just false information to a lot of those people.
Sean, I think it's important for homeowners to understand this message, and this is where investors come in because they can share this information, in that in today's market or in a standard market, buyers would be, or sellers would be moving back and forth. They'd be moving up, moving down, moving sideways. They feel like because they're in a negative equity position, they're not allowed to take advantage of the interest rates, not allowed to take advantage of the current market, but there is that opportunity for them. The beauty of doing this in such a way that it doesn't damage the homeowner is that if we're not successful with the lender for one reason or another, i.e. the investor doesn't, pulls it back for some reason, they haven't harmed themselves at all.
Right.
They've only gained the knowledge of what they've just gone through and the ability to stay in their home if it doesn't work. If it does, then they've got the opportunity to turn around and repurchase or move. And a lot of homeowners are hanging on because they don't want to damage their credit, but they're really suffering every single month because they're just not making it, and they're feeling like I'm stuck.
Sure. Right, and again, that stigma of credit damage is something that we've all discussed as investors at one time or another. Is in 2008 and 2009, the banks were really cracking down on foreclosures, if we all remember that. Mm-hmm. And what that was doing was that was knocking a lot of borrowers out of the buying game for a few years. Well, guess what? They're coming back now.
They're all ready
and so
to go.
now, I imagine those are a lot of the people that are standing in line to buy the successful short sales that the two of you are negotiating. So we've got now low supply. And why is that? What's the average price at foreclosure? 105%? Anybody experiencing that? People are going out and buying trustee sale properties for way too much. Can you make money at that, Rich? You can't, I can't either. I can't figure out. But then again, I'm not a hedge fund with, 40 billion or whatever behind me. So that kind of makes it slim pickings for us. But it also does the same thing, right, for the homeowner. Mm-hmm. So now you add to the fact that these people that you're shorting, if done properly, aren't knocked out either. They can choose. They can choose to become a tenant, right? Mm-hmm. They can choose to buy. They can go bigger. They can go smaller. Now, one thing that I wanted to see how this was working out for you, or what your thoughts were, are these automatic loan modifications that are being mailed out. Mm-hmm. How has that affected your business, if at all, and what kind of feedback are you hearing from anybody on that?
Well, it's definitely affected our business in the fact that we've had a few, not too many, homeowners that, we have approvals, we're in escrow, and they receive a letter from the bank saying that they qualify for a loan mod. So we've had a few that have backed out of the short sale. That being said, when I do speak with a homeowner, I always counsel them to make sure that a short sale is really, truly what they want. Okay. If their deepest desire is to keep their home, I do encourage them to explore that avenue first. Okay. I need that question out of their mind before they move towards the short sale. And because we do that, and we tell our homeowners to always open their mail from their lender, and they know, they'll call us, oh, I got one of those letters, and,
right.
And then they'll, usually then they'll just say, but I'm ignoring it because we've already told them what to expect.
Well, part of something that we share with them too is the government has incentivized the lenders to modify, to put a homeowner in a modification. Okay. So they get incentives from the government, and then they get 3 months of trial payments. That homeowner may or may not qualify for that loan modification. Okay. But the bank is a debt collector, and they'll tell you when they call you on the phone, and they've just collected 3 months payments plus an incentive from the government. So they're sending these letters out. It's an incentive. And what it's done to the market, it has slowed the market down from foreclosures and a lot of short sales, but we're also in a very hot political time right now, so sure. It kind of makes things look good.
And also what a lot of people don't realize is every time a homeowner asks to be reconsidered, so they go through the whole process, mm-hmm. They get denied, if the bank puts them in the trial again, the bank collects more money from the government. So it's each time they consider the homeowner for a loan.
It's good to be a bank, right?
Yeah.
Geez.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm hearing, one of the things you hear, again, the filter, home prices are on the rise and everything's okay now. Mm-hmm. But then you also hear, for instance, B of A. B of A, Bruce even said, B of A is handing out Christmas letters, right? Basically, hey, your loan's been modified, or hey, you want a principal reduction, just sign here. You mentioned a program specifically, the B of A, and there may be other banks that are doing it. Mm-hmm. It's called the B of A Co-op program. Mm-hmm. One of you guys want to explain to us what that's all about?
The co-op program is a program, it's an internal program like the HAFA program is, a government program. It's Bank of America's internal program where a homeowner can receive up to $30,000 in incentive. The other side, the flip side of that too, it's a no-doc short sale. So there's not really a hardship. There's no financials, no tax returns. None of those things are submitted over to the bank. The bank sets the price on your house, but then they also do a reduction on that if the house isn't sold within a certain period of time. So they control the listing price, but they also control the incentives. And we've had, how many of our, about 75% of our.
Well, I found it interesting because at I Survived, the NAR president said that very few people got incentives. So I had to go back and check our numbers, and we found 76% of our owner-occupied are getting incentives that range from $2,500 to up to $30,000.
So there are in your business, there's 76% are actually getting some kind of incentive from one or more of the banks to go through with this process.
Correct.
Right, and the reality, or the big aha moment for me, is some of these short sale homeowners are actually walking away with more in their pocket than equity sellers these days. So.
Did you guys hear that? That's pretty powerful. So now, but is there a tax liability for them on any of that money?
I believe it is taxable.
Okay, so it is taxable income. They have to pay, because the government wants some money back even though they gave it to them.
But when we call a seller and go, hey, guess what? You got $30,000, they don't go, oh, I don't think I want that. I don't want to pay taxes on it.
Right, they want to pay the taxes on it. Well, could sign that check over to me. And
Yeah.
we'll
Just bring it on in.
You also have to understand there's really no rhyme or reason on which homeowners get it, and it's not determined by the value or the size of the house. We've gotten them for, $100,000 condos as well as over $1 million homes.
That's a little scary, though, that there's really you said there's no rhyme or reason to it.
There's an internal algorithm with the banks,
Right.
but they don't even know what it is. There's a code on their system, and
Why does that not surprise me?
Yeah.
That they don't know what they're doing.
well, because we're dealing with the program, we're dealing with the investor,
Sure.
the note. If there's been fraud on that note, you can bet it's probably going, in that pile of let's just get rid of this. So there's too many moving parts to try to figure out what that whole thing really is.
And sometimes we're known to try for it and put it on the HUD even without the homeowner having gotten the letter, just to see if it'll fly.
Just see if it'll go.
Oh yeah, we ask for everything.
Now, it occurs to me that, we jumped right in here, and we went right after some very specific topics. But I want to just back the bus up for just 2 or 3 minutes. For those people that might be watching or that are sitting right here, can you give me a quick synopsis of why we call it a short sale? And so why people short sell? What does that mean? Because it's kind of, I realize we can use jargon from time to time. What does that mean when we short a house?
You want to take that?
Essentially, somebody who paid, say, $500,000 on a house, and due to the economy or whatever reason, they now found their house is now worth $300,000.
Okay.
That is a short sale if they want to sell it. And basically what it means is they have to go to the bank and ask permission or to get an approval from the lender to allow them to sell it for less than what they owe.
So I agreed to pay $500,000 on a loan. It's worth considerably less, in this case $200,000 less. And I have a lender. Now what if I have more than one lender?
We have to get permission from all of them.
And how often do they agree? Is there sometimes maybe one of them might not want to help out?
There are times.
You say that like you've had that happen once or twice.
Just a few times.
Okay.
There are some lenders on the seconds that are really sticky about what they're willing to give up because they're losing their position to ever collect that debt again.
Okay.
So if there's a $100,000 lien of a second from Chase, and they think that their position is better to let the house go to foreclosure and then they can pursue the seller,
Okay.
then they're making a business decision. If we're offering them $6,000, they're going $6,000 or I can pursue the seller. What is better for me as a bank? And so sometimes you do fight against that, especially because of the California legislation has put in a rule that will not allow a second lien to accept the short sale and then pursue for a deficiency, because that's what we had in the early days.
Okay. So things have changed a little bit because back in 2008, 2009, when banks were really pushing hard for foreclosures, before we had the robo-signing scandal and whatnot, right? You found people just saying, forget it, and you didn't have this leaning, if you will, toward short sales, right? It's changed now, and it almost seems like, a certain percentage of them are just, God, what is the average time that a homeowner stays in their house when they choose not to make their payment and not do a short sale? Some of these people in there over a year, right, in California.
We've had 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, we just took a new one that's been 4 years, and they haven't even filed an NOD yet.
Haven't even filed the NOD.
That's really the shadow inventory, is just
Yeah.
the bank's not moving on people who aren't paying.
Mm-hmm. So again, that's very interesting because we're right in a period now where it seems almost counterintuitive that you've got a shortage of inventory, right? Who works here in Orange County and knows what the MLS inventory is? Tell me, how many days of inventory? How many months? 1 month of inventory in Orange County?
Yeah.
Is that different than what it's been the past few years? Yeah, right. I think the lowest I saw it at one point, and I thought, oh, we're in big trouble, was it over 6 months? And I thought, how are we going to clear this out? In Riverside, they had like 400 years, something crazy, right, of property, and you're like, oh, it's a headache. In Riverside, it's down to a month now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so here we have low inventory levels, stronger demand, and still people staying in their house years and years and years. So that just goes back to show you that banks really don't have an idea of what they're doing. And the two of you doing short sales, there's a lot to know about short sales. That's no baloney. One thing I think I'm interested in, and everybody else, is, okay, let's use your example. I owe $500,000, and how do we know first it's worth $300,000? Well, I'm guessing we have comparable sales. But tell me how the two of you get to a BPO number now. So somebody decides to work with you, right? I show up, and Tina says, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I'm sure. What's the next step for me? What is it that, I have to do? I signed something with you.
Are you a homeowner?
I'm a homeowner,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And so I sign a listing agreement with you. What
Then you
do
list
I do?
with me.
Oh, so I list with Marlene.
Yes,
Okay.
you list with
I
me.
like you, Tina, but she's the gal.
No,
now.
that's how it works.
Okay. So are you sure you don't work for her? See, she said the other way around. Okay, so I sign a listing agreement with you.
Correct.
Is there a special listing agreement that I have to use?
No, just a standard listing agreement.
Okay, so I say I want
Unless
to...
you're an investor buying the
Nope, I'm a homeowner, right? I'm just a homeowner, and my house is too little, and I owe too much, right? So that's kind of my hardship, right? My family's outgrowing the house. But I'm curious now. I signed the listing agreement, and clearly, I'm saying that I owe $5, but I only want to sell it for $3. Is there anything extra that I have to sign on there? Is there any addendum or any disclosures that we have to make?
With a standard listing agreement, because it's all the traditional verbiage, then there's a few addendums, a short sale addendum, a short sale advisory addendum, giving you all the options that you have as a homeowner.
Okay.
So there are a couple more addendums.
This
that
is
go
California, so I was pretty
Right.
sure there was something.
Yeah.
Well, we have to
there's-
keep the lawyers in,
keep
Right.
busy. So then what we do is you would list your house with me, and I would start to market your property. In
Okay.
the meantime, you have an intake interview with Tina, and Tina will go through a whole host of questions to find out what you've been doing and how far your
Uh-oh.
payments are. Did you do a loan mod?
Okay.
that's
And if you
important
did
for
do a
us to
loan
know.
mod, what did you give
Agreed
to
to.
the lender?
Okay.
Because that makes a big difference on how we negotiate. And so she does the intake interview, and then we collect your documents, and then we, strategize on how we're going to market your property. Typically, it's just one open house and 20 offers, and then we pick an offer, and then you never have to open up your house again.
How many of you have made offers on short sales? Are there multiple? Wow, look at that. Are multiple offers on there? Raise your hand if it's multiple offer situation.
What we were telling Sean is we had one condo in Lake Forest. 5 offers came in before anybody ever saw it. One open house, and we had 22 offers. So
Then that's pretty much
It
standard.
was a busy 3 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty much
it
standard.
was like a parade.
Yeah.
Okay, so now okay, I got plenty of people that want it. So how do we get the bank to understand that this isn't worth $500,000? What's the process that we do there? We talk about a BPO. For those people that haven't heard that word before.
BPO stands for Broker's Price Opinion.
Okay.
The bank has to find out really what what the property is worth. So they'll order a BPO.
Okay. Who does that? You guys?
No, it's a third-party agent
Okay.
Who's very overworked and underpaid, who goes out there to give his opinion of what he thinks that property should sell for. And then based on that price, the bank will either say, okay, we'll accept your offer, or counter back if the offer's not in line.
But prior to that, when we get the BPO call, it comes into our office so that
Okay.
we can log that the BPO's been ordered. If it's one of my listings, then I will go out with the BPO agent.
Okay.
I never want them to go out on their own because they just don't know what I want them to know.
They're not looking at the worst part.
They're not looking at the worst part.
Okay.
Right. Or if it's one of our agents that's working with us, then we'll call them and say, here's your BPO agent. Make sure that you're there present at the BPO, because that is the marker that's going to make or break your deal. If you let them run rampant and not support them,
Or do a drive-by.
or do, then, and you come back with a bad number, then it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, you told me about one house you had that had tree roots coming up out of
Yes.
the toilet.
Yeah.
That's kind of important to show that BPO guy,
Yeah,
right?
and the cracks in the foundation, and the fact that during that BPO, I told him, this property's been listed at 5.25 for the entire year, and nobody purchased on it. I have an offer at $450.
You guys writing this stuff down? Oh, we're taping it, don't worry.
So I had an offer at $450. I had 4 offers at $450 when I went out there. So I showed him all the issues, and you can see the water damage, all that stuff. He still came back with a value of $650 because it was in an area in Mount Washington and Los Angeles that's very difficult to comp.
Right.
So I brought comps. And I said, now here's the not model matches, but here's the best comps that we can find in the area. And he's
Is
like,
this the second one?
this is the first one.
First one.
And so, but he said to me, he goes, do you have repair sheets yet? He goes, give me something to work with, because he knew that number was going to come in high. And I hadn't done a repair sheet on it. So it came in high, but it was Bank of America, and they were graduating the prices down.
So what's a repair sheet look like? Is it a standard form, or is it just something
Well,
that
it's a contractor's form. I mean, if you have 2 repairs, when I negotiate, if I have 2 repair requests or repair orders or 2 termite orders, then I can usually use that as leverage with the bank. So.
Okay, so these are really good nuggets that I'm trying to make sure everybody gets, is that you want to make sure you're notified when the BPO is ordered, date
Yes.
and time they intend to be there. You do not want to let this BPO agent run amok by themselves, because you're just not sure if they're going to see everything you want them to see. So this is literally like, for those of us that have ever, gone to an appraisal on a property that we were selling, it's along the same lines. You want to get there, you want to make sure you're bringing the most recent comps, and of course in this case you're showing the worst of it, rather than when we're selling, we're really trying to play up that picture window, right? And the new Corian or whatever we've done. So you get the BPO. Now here's a question, I think, and I tried to pin you down a little bit, so just be as close as you can. What range, or how much of a discount is probably what this group really wants to know, from either the BPO or the former price are we seeing them moving here? Is it?
When you say former price, you mean
So
what?
let's say, are they looking at, it used to be $500,000 and they're looking at that discount?
No.
Or are they just strictly looking at the BPO?
Just the
They're
BPO.
looking at market value.
So the BPO is the market value.
Right.
Are they sticking to that, or is there any play downwards? Are we getting any kind of discount?
I would say no more than 15%. Between 10 to 15% is something we can work with, depending on the ammunition that we have to work with.
Okay.
If it's a pretty, pristine, clean house, it's challenging, because I've had conversations with negotiators, and this one in particular, it was ING, and they own their own
Bank.
properties.
Oh.
So they're really difficult to work with. And he said, I know, we have meetings once a week. He said, I will get 105% at market. So unless you bring in, this is what we're looking for, I don't even want to discuss it. We do title, we do escrow. They hold all the strings. So very difficult to work with.
Could be, but then some of those other ones who aren't as adept, they're looking at the spiffs maybe that the government's giving them to make up some of that difference, you think? You were saying?
Yeah, there's different variations of what we can do because we try to get the bank to cover as much on the seller side of the HUD as possible. So though we were hired by the seller and the seller's agent, we work on behalf of the whole transaction because
Okay.
our goal is to get it to close. And there's nothing worse than coming to the end of the transaction to say, okay, I got your approval, and I need $5,000 to cover X, Y, Z. And everybody's like, I don't want it coming out of my pockets. So we try to get them to cover as much as, back HOA dues, doc transfer fees, all those things that you can push back on, but we lay them all out on the line and try to get the bank to cover as much as possible. So it really is, and I think what I was sharing with you earlier is the higher you are to the value, the more you can get on the HUD covered because they have their net reserve that they have to meet, and they know what that number is.
So yeah, it's getting, closer to the BPO, the better. So if we're trying to buy these to flip them, maybe we can get 15% off.
Right.
And in a property that doesn't need a lot of repairs, I mean, you're still really, really tight on this. So how many, just rough estimate, how many of the buyers that are buying your stuff are buying them as investments versus owner-occupant?
I don't always know if it's an investor. So
They don't always wear a sign.
Well,
No.
one thing
just
that
kidding.
you probably, agents bring us files. We process and negotiate short sales for agents. And so they bring us a file and it has a buyer attached. I don't always know who the buyer is, whether or not they're going to move into it or not. Of the ones, I did a little bit of research, 15 to 20% of that I know have been investors.
And are they flipping them or holding them? Or?
Both.
We don't know
Okay.
the end game, but I think most of them are holding them
Yeah.
because everybody's in that kind of just hold on to your
Maybe
inventory.
waiting for it to go up a little more because
Well,
you
some
just,
of these do pencil out and do cash flow. So it makes sense for an investor to just buy it and hold it. The properties that are successful flips are properties that need to be fixed.
heavy fixers.
Yeah. And that's where a deeper discount will be because if a property has the wow factor, where a BPO agent will go, oh, whoa, there's no way that, then it'll come in lower and when maybe the fix-up costs are not as much as what the BPO agent thinks they are. So.
And I think the tolerance with the bank, we're not seeing properties fall out of escrow right now. Everybody's hanging in. I would
Okay.
say 95% of ours are sticking because lendings, they're getting their loans in.
Okay.
The buyers are hanging in because they know if they back out, there's nothing
nothing
else
How are they
to
going to
buy.
get back? You're going to be one of these guys at the
Right.
23rd offer, right,
Yeah.
on a property.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
So-
all of these guys are actually competing with tons of first-time home buyers and stuff like that.
Are you feeling that competition out there? Right. So, I didn't ask you this, but how many hours goes into one average? See the
We're at-
smirk? If I can even use the word average file. How many hours?
Oh.
How many people hours are you spending on a file?
I don't even know how to
We don't wanna
calculate
know.
that. No, but our processors, our negotiators will call on a file 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
So we have our initial intake. There's my time if I'm listening it. There's Tina's time if she's doing the intake interview, which usually takes about 45 minutes to go through with the homeowner. Then there's the document collection and breaking down of that. Then there's the submission, and then there's all the follow-up phone calls, and then there's the escrow, and then there's the I need an extension. Ben spent probably 4 hours on 2 files today trying to get 2 extensions. I mean, it takes a long time, and everybody goes, well, they can just get an extension. It's like, it's not just handed out like candy. And so, getting those extensions, and then we're extending the escrow again, and so there's a lot of hours.
That sounds like it took hours to explain that. There's lots of people in there.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
And what's your close rate? I mean, when you start 10 files, how many of them are going to make it to the end?
9?
9.5.
So
9 and a
9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
So that's a real good ratio for you. Now, who pays for your service? Is this something that, seller calls you up and you say, well, write me a check and we'll start processing your file? How does that work?
No.
No, typically the buyer pays us.
So the buyer's going to pay. It's going to be just an item on the HUD?
Yep.
Or do you make them pay you up front?
No.
No, we're like an agent. Nobody gets paid until the deal is done.
Or if the deal doesn't fund,
Then we don't get paid.
you don't make anything.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Or
That's not
if we
fun.
have to do it again, we don't get paid
Yeah.
extra, so,
That's definitely not fun.
yeah.
No.
Now, this is something that, now I'm trusting your numbers, Marlene. I don't know where you got them from, but it was shocking to me. Here's a number. Ready? 75% of the homes that get foreclosed on have never even been listed by an agent. So you guys hear that? 75% of the houses that get foreclosed on have never been listed by an agent. So what that told me, and you were bringing it up, was nobody, either those homeowners just were completely oblivious to their situation and just fatalistic and it's just going to happen, or maybe nobody's marketing those people because they don't know what we just learned tonight. Maybe they don't feel like they have a choice. Is that how you see that, Marlene?
I think there's a sense of denial, you know, and some of our foreclosures that we've had are what we call short sale rescues, where you know, an agent brings them at the last minute and says, oh, something's wrong, or the homeowners finally, you know, we've got 5 days and they're going to sale, and it's like, really? Okay, you've had 90 or 100 days to do this and you bring it the last 5 days? And so those ones are very difficult to work on, to get the bank to go, okay, why are we doing this? So, you know, it's just, you know, part of the process.
I mean, 7 out of 10, that's, I mean, come on, agents, you're not doing your jobs out there, for goodness sakes. I mean, right? I mean, I remember it used to be in vogue to actually market the NOD list. Does anybody do that? Is there an NOD list anymore?
Yeah.
I don't even know if anybody's on it, if they're even foreclosing, as we figured that out. But how some people I've seen out there, and listen, everybody's heard, you know, all the different strategies. There's some people out there claiming, well, you should file for bankruptcy, and that gives you a stronger position in a short sale. What have you found when people file a bankruptcy and then come to you and say, okay, do my short sale? Does that help? Does that hurt?
Bankruptcy is for those who need it.
Okay.
So if they have other financial issues, then that might be a good option. And so I have referred homeowners over to bankruptcy attorneys. In reverse, if you've done a bankruptcy, homeowners sometimes are mistaken to think that a bankruptcy protects their home and it won't ever go to foreclosure.
Okay.
And the reality is a lot of times when that bankruptcy is discharged, if the bank has kept the foreclosure active, it could go to sale almost immediately after the bankruptcy is done. The strategy to that, though, is we will list the property during the bankruptcy,
Okay.
and then with the cooperation of the bankruptcy attorney, sometimes they can pull just the house out from the bankruptcy and allow the homeowner to sell it separately because there's no money in it, so it's not going to help their bankrupt situation.
Yeah.
But if the bankruptcy attorney is agreeable, we'll do everything we can up until approval.
Until just before approval, because they can't issue an approval without the bankruptcy being discharged. So it kind of mucks it up a little bit in that we can still work it, but then we're waiting for the bankruptcy trustee, which is not so bad now because bankruptcies are taking 3 months or so,
Okay.
not as long as they used to. But something that homeowners don't realize also is that just because you do a bankruptcy doesn't mean your house doesn't go to foreclosure. So they thought, oh, I have a bankruptcy, I'm done with all this. Yeah, you're absolved from the liability of the debt, but now you're going to have a foreclosure as well as a bankruptcy on your...
Because that's the collateral. They
Right.
might have absolved you from the debt, but they're going to want their collateral.
They're going to want their
Right.
collateral. So if you do a short sale, then it's paid as agreed. If you do a foreclosure, it's that foreclosure word on your credit.
Yeah, the big F word. We don't
Yeah.
want, nobody
No.
wants that,
No.
right?
No F
so,
words.
so bankruptcy as a strategy isn't going to help you get a
Not
short
if
sale done
it's-
faster.
No,
No.
it will make it take longer.
What it can do is for those homeowners who really just want to stay in their house and they want to prolong it, it can prolong them getting to stay there.
So what's the advantage to hiring an attorney to do your short sale? I keep hearing, you know, attorneys are very, very sure that you should use them to do a short sale. Is it a state law that you have to be an attorney to process your short sale?
No.
Not in California. You have to
Okay.
be a licensed agent in order to negotiate a short sale.
Okay, that's important to know. So if we're out here watching this and we're like, I'm going to start a short sale business, somebody needs to be a licensed agent. Is that
Yes.
is that what you're saying?
Not just somebody, anybody who is talking with the bank, negotiating with the bank. So for us, any of our negotiators actually have licenses.
That's really, and hopefully you guys are writing that down, because the last thing I want you guys to do is, you come here for information. I don't want you to run out, try to start a short sale business and get yourselves in hot water, right? In a month or a year, pick either one. How many files are you working at any one time as a company?
We currently have 70 on our...
70?
70. We've got 70 on our pipeline right now. We've got 13 on the closings.
Okay.
And out of those 13, we'll probably close, I guess this month, out of 13, we're going to close 9
Okay.
because of the extensions.
Because of extensions?
Yeah.
Now, what's the average, for those of you out there, what's the agents, how many in a year, how many do you think a regular agent is going to close in short sales? Couple?
We have some agents that will, maybe 1 or 2, but we have some agents that will close 10. So
I always see these cards or these magnetic signs, short sale specialist. It always makes me wonder, what do you have to do to say that on your card? Like,
we have to take a class.
well, yeah, but
CDP.
they didn't take, come on, these guys,
You have to take a class that is sponsored by the lenders.
right. But, we say,
It's
there you
true.
go, short sale specialist, and, I guess I'm looking for volume. And, probably most importantly for people out here, and by the way, if you guys have questions, start writing them down and send them to the middle aisle there, and we'll pick them up in just a few minutes here. The name of the game for us is, I know we all like real estate so much that we'd all work for free, right? All of us work for free. That's a joke. That's where you guys can chuckle a little bit. So listen, I don't do short sales, but I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes, like you said, Tina, I'm going to say you probably need to talk to an attorney, or you probably should try to get a loan mod. Or what I'd like to have is a short sale person. Now, can I refer short sales to you guys?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Don't
definitely.
chuckle. I'm asking an honest question.
Yes,
Yes.
bring them on.
So
In
I can-
fact, what I do encourage, I will actually do a conference call with I've had some investors have a homeowner call me,
Okay.
and he'll be on the phone as well, and we've just talked to, and I've answered their questions as far as a short sale. And I don't hesitate, if somebody really wants a loan mod, I'll refer them out to a loan mod attorney that we work with, as well as a bankruptcy attorney, as well as an
An accountant.
accountant or anybody, because our first goal is to help the homeowner do what's right for them, and a short sale might not necessarily be the best option or their first choice.
So if I'm referring something to you, do I have to have a contract with them? Do I have to have all their information? I mean, this isn't I'm being honest, I don't do short sales. Not that I don't think it's fascinating, but I just have to learn it. So I'm looking to refer stuff to you. Can you guys discuss on a per basis? Do you pay any kind of referral fees? Do you make me become a specialist? What do I have to do? Can I just give you the name, and if it pays off, I get a call and I get a happy check?
In your marketing, if you come across a short sale that you would throw away
Okay.
because you can't buy it yourself, if you refer it to me, we do pay a finder's fee.
Okay.
If you want to be the buyer on it, that's an option if that's what the seller is wanting.
Okay.
Although in today, the way short sales work, the banks do require the properties to be listed.
Okay.
So you have to show good faith in trying to find an offer, but a lot of times the investor will make the offer, and that's the one that's submitted. Because really, the person in the driver's seat at that point is the homeowner. The homeowner has the right to choose which offer they're going to submit to the bank.
Now, let me ask you this too. I noticed quite a few hands went up when I said who's writing offers on short sales. You think it might be a good idea for some people to sit down with you and find out how to get at the top of your list so that when you intake one and you really haven't matched up with the buyer yet, I'm seeing kind of a pretty good matchup maybe here. I know that you guys are looking for about $250,000 right now, right, to close on something. Was that right?
Yeah.
Did you find that money yet?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, so I'm saying that you guys are at the front of it, and you're seeing a lot of potential short sales going through. And while I know that you could have 5 offers before you even list it, is there a possibility for some people here to get on some kind of list for, hey, I'm ready to go, I have proof of funds? That might work, because as you just said, maybe they want to be a buyer. Maybe they don't know the seller, but they just want to get on a list for you as a buyer. Is that something you guys do?
Go ahead.
We
You can do now?
Yeah, we can do we can do that, and we do have investors. We get a lot of investor calls saying, okay, you know, I'm your person if something happens or if you need a buyer. But what I think I would recommend is that if you guys want to be at the front of the list, is you need to start looking for the homeowners that are not listed yet, because you guys are putting offers in on the MLS, and the MLS is just, it's already
Inundated.
saturated with offers. So if your goal is to be that first in line, then go find that homeowner. And that's where you have that conversation and that dialogue. You can bring it to us. We'll put you first in line because, contrary to popular belief, the bank does not get all the offers. On an REO, they do. But the seller's in the driver's seat. This is their property. They get to pick the offer. So highest is not always best. Cash is not always king. You know, it's the seller. They go off emotion. They go, I really like this offer or this person or the situation, and it doesn't matter. They get to pick.
You're out, Rich. They got to like you. Sorry, buddy.
Just so you realize how we work, agents are, the majority of our files are brought to us by agents.
Right.
So they're already marketing those properties, and a lot of times those properties come to us with a buyer already attached.
I totally understand.
And there has been times where I've thrown out to the investor community a property that has sat and needs a buyer. But in this day and age, currently, that's pretty rare, especially when another agent has that listing.
Okay.
We don't actively market for homeowners ourselves, at least not yet. We're going to start ramping that up. So we don't have personally properties that we could, I mean, they come to us.
We do.
They come to us.
I'm just thinking you're two people that need to have more than a lunch. Maybe these people need to get a little closer to your business and pay attention to what you're doing. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. That makes sense to you guys? I mean, 70 files a month, that's more than the average person, I'm thinking, for short sales. A little bit more than the average person.
Yeah.
That might be a
Realize, though, right now, all 70 have offers.
Yeah.
Oh, you made
except
it
for
clear
one.
that it's very rare. We get it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
we have one without an offer.
You're
So-
going to
and
still
they-
have to work, gang. You're still going to have to work at it. All right, let me take some questions if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gals ready for it?
Yeah.
Everybody ready? Everybody have to go potty? I'm not going to stop reading. Okay, if the owner has a $20,000 HOA lien, will that be added to the BPO?
Oh.
To the BPO, no, because the BPO is only based on the market value, not on the debt against the house.
So the lien won't be added to the BPO, but how are HOA liens disposed of? Are they treated as a second lien? Or?
Well, one of the questions I have with homeowners when I do my intake interview is, are you current on your HOA? We call HOAs mini Gestapos.
Ah, that's a good name for them.
Yeah.
They are power-hungry people who like to make things very difficult.
I agree with you there.
And if there's anything that you can keep current, we encourage it to be HOAs, because they are known to, especially when they get into a hand of attorney firms, because attorney firms like to
Billable hours.
they like to
Yeah.
say, we don't negotiate, and so,
Sure
which
they
doesn't
do.
make sense to us, because don't you think it'd be smarter to get it done and
Now,
get a
you
paying
said
person in
attorney
there?
and smart in the same sentence. There was your big downfall. Sorry, attorneys.
But I'll let Marlene take the second half. Part of what we do with files that come in with HOAs, HOA liens, is we have to negotiate them.
Okay, so now it's not just the lenders, it's now an HOA. So it's a nasty, fat, $20,000 HOA lien.
So what we do is we will send a settlement letter to the HOA company stating that here's what we're allowing, or here's what we're offering as a settlement. And they have to go to their board, and they may say yes, or they may say no, they'll come back, or whatever. So we try to settle that debt down as much as we can. On the flip side, we're working with the bank saying, we have $20,000 in HOAs, what are you going to do? We got to get this closed. You know that we can't close without that being
You're
paid.
evil, is what you are. You're like playing both sides. You're going to get caught. No, I'm just kidding. So, okay, so
No,
what's the
that's
first?
what
Do
we
you say
have
that
to
to the
do.
bank first to see what they'll give up? So you know, do you go over here? Or is there a standard percentage of pennies on the dollar, Marlene, that you're shooting at first
Yes,
out?
the HOAs are somewhere around 45% we can get them down to. So the reason we put all of it on the HUD is because we haven't gotten an answer from the HOA.
Right.
So I'm not going to hold this transaction up to wait for this. So when they come back, then we can say, oh, well, they settled for 45, and we can put 45 on the
Okay,
HUD. So
I
it's
gotcha.
all disclosed. It's just that I can't wait for one to answer because the HOA board meets once a month.
Sure.
So I won't get an answer for probably 60 days before we actually know what happens.
No, that's
So-
a fantastic point. See, there's these little nuances that I'm picking up that, questions I didn't even know. That's a great question, whoever asked that question on HOA liens. Somebody must have got burned on one. I've had that happen too, by the way.
And typically the buyers end up picking up.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, trust me, you're going to pick up a tab. After a short sale, if a homeowner has good credit, what type of financing is available? Is it just FHA or conventional?
I would say it was just FHA is all we know of. And the thing is you have to go, we have a couple direct lenders that will do it. Typically will probably not happen with Chase and Wells, those big banks. You're going to have to find a smaller direct lender.
And the second part of this question is, well, how does a seller have a down payment for a new purchase? Don't they have to put all their cash in their deal? I like when Tina says that.
So the assumption is that the seller is paying towards the short sale?
That the seller has to be tapped, I guess, in order to get
No.
the deal. Is that what that meant, whoever
The seller
asked that?
pays nothing.
And sometimes they're getting money from the...
Yeah, they just
you
got
just told me they can get
$30,000.
30 grand. That's how they got it. They got money and they got their loan off.
Right.
That's
And
insane.
The laws,
I want to buy a house now just so I can do that.
the laws in California are that lenders cannot ask sellers to contribute. Sometimes, though, if they see the seller having money, they'll ask the
can make it
agents to
difficult.
contribute.
I'm just going to stop doing my business. You guys have it all. I don't know. All right. Is that you guys get that question answered?
that
So
enough
they've
of
got
an
money.
answer?
They don't have to be dirt poor. The hardship couldn't just be they don't have any money. It could be relocation.
Relocation.
Yeah.
So
See, I'm learning lots here. I would have thought the same thing.
And
You gotta have-
lenders are not allowed to ask for like retirement information and everything, so we don't.
So fill up your retirement fund first. I'm kidding. How difficult is it to short sale a rental property with tenants? See, that's funny when she does that.
We giggle with
I don't
everything.
know if it's a tick or
Go
what.
ahead, you can take that one.
well, it depends on if your tenants are cooperative. Are they making their rent payments? Because like any other situation, anytime you sell a house, if there's people that are occupying it, they have to be willing to do the showings and whatnot. So you can choose to evict them first or give them notice and send them out, or they can be available to do the showings. With the market the way it is today, you can do a one-day showing and then the tenants are left alone for the rest of the time. So it's not difficult. It doesn't make any change in the transaction. It has everything to do with the real estate side of showing and getting the offers.
Do you get about the same volume of offers on tenant occupied as you do on non-tenant
everything?
occupied?
Yeah.
Yeah, and in some cases, the tenants have been the buyers, and
You said anything about that?
yeah.
Okay, and then are sellers of non-owner occupied properties affected by 1099-C cancellation of debt?
Absolutely. The 1099-C is something that everyone will receive in a short sale, and that's how the bank gets it off their books. If they cancel the debt, it's an accounting principle that they have to issue the 1099s. There's the Debt Forgiveness Act for the primary residence. With Sean and I were talking about if you have an investment property, there's a whole host of negative payments that you've made, your cost basis, your repairs, all of that can
Down payment.
be filtered
Offset
against
it.
to offset your 1099. So What you need to have is a really good accountant who understands those principles.
So get a good tax advisor.
Yeah.
Yes, a couple of things. The Debt Forgiveness Act is supposed to end at the end of this year. It could be extended. Nobody knows. We won't know till November, December.
Romney. Oh, sorry. I didn't say that out loud.
Everybody's hoping that it gets extended. And what homeowners don't realize is they're going to get a 1099 if it goes to foreclosure.
Or a deed in lieu.
Or a deed in lieu. So it's just what they get.
All right, I heard Marlene say that usually the buyer pays the negotiation fee. I buy and sell 2 or 3 short sales per month, and usually the listing agent is paying the negotiation fee. Can I expect this to change in the near future?
Maybe if we start doing more. No, no, really. What we try to do as a company is we try to keep our agents' commissions whole, because they're busting their behinds out there to find these sellers to list their properties. The buyers agents are working with you guys. So that's their primary source of income, and they may only have 2 or 3 deals a year. So we really try to keep their commissions in their pockets. And so it's a buyer cost, it's a seller cost paid by the buyer, like HOAs or any other fee. So it's just an add-on fee, and we have 70 files on our board, and not one person has not paid our short sale fee. So it's just all the way it's presented and the offsets it can be, because what we do for the investor is a lot of times if it's a cash deal, they can just reduce it by the amount of the our fee. And what we do for them is we will get as much covered on the HUD as possible, and we will make sure that they're not countered up as much as possible. So the way that we deal with counters is the bank is going to ask for full market value. Well, after I've evaluated the file, I can pretty much tell where the bank's tolerance is on it. So, you know, I tell the agent can bump it up. That's their prerogative. I'm not making that decision for them. But if not, then we can keep it down. We can hold that cost down. So.
Do you guys feel comfortable discussing what you charge to process a short sale file?
We charge $3,900 or 1%, whichever is greater.
Okay.
That being said, typically, like Marlene said, the buyers pay our costs. But if the buyer works closely with the listing agent and the listing agent agrees to pay our fee, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
However they want to work it out.
Whoever wants to pay us.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Or if you bring your listing to me, I'll work something out with you.
It's an interesting one. This is, do reverse mortgage short sales differ from regular short sales?
No.
So same premise.
Yeah.
They're owed a certain amount, and they're agreed to take less, and they do it or they don't. Well, that's a short answer. That's good. How many reverse mortgages? Anybody dealing with those out there right now? Rich is dealing with them. Lisa, a couple of people. Okay. Do you work only in California?
No.
Okay. Is there anywhere you don't work?
Florida.
That's a better Florida.
Florida, we were told you had to be a licensed agent in that state. Someone just recently told me that was false. But the thing is, when somebody approaches us about doing a short sale out of state, we only investigate that state because that's
on a needed basis.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so what we do, like we have a couple Las Vegas where we've brought in a Las Vegas agent to handle the property and the transaction for us, and then we handle the short sale.
What about short sales for investment properties not owner-occupied? You were telling me that you get quite a bit of investor business.
Yeah.
Personally, they've got a portfolio that's not performing, and they just say, make it stop hurting me.
Right. That happens quite often. We've had investors who've brought their whole portfolio to us. It's funny because investors understand the impact that this economy is having. They're not as emotionally attached to their properties, so they're just ready to cut bait and then start over again.
Start the new round over.
You know, Sean, I think that question brings a whole conception that the bank's not going to do a short sale. What's the alternative for the bank? It's foreclosure. So they would opt not to do foreclosure over a short sale. So it's just a matter of presenting the story, you know.
Let me ask you this. Are they giving out those little spiffs even to non-owner occupieds where some of them might get money back?
Incentive money?
We've got $7,000 coming to one of our sellers.
Now that's funny. You bunch of properties and you can't hang anymore, and they give you money to give them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not too bad right there.
And there's Not every bank is doing those, the incentives. It's mainly the big banks that got their hands slapped. There are some smaller banks out there, and we always check and make sure, but if you have an obscure little bank, you might not get an incentive as much as if it's a B of A or Chase.
Because they're pet banks, right?
Or credit
All right.
unions.
Have you heard of the short sale leaseback program under HAFA? They're calling it Fresh Start.
You know, I have heard rumors of that, but I haven't had any experience with it.
Okay, so
We did have a conversation. We were at the California Association of Realtor Expo a couple weeks ago, and somebody stopped by our booth talking about that. It had something to do with being a nonprofit.
There are different programs that are nonprofits that are getting in, and they're purchasing them pre-foreclosure or prior to the foreclosure, and then they're doing some sort of leaseback type program. But they have to do it under a nonprofit entity is what they're doing. So I've heard that, but I don't know about the Fresh Start thing.
Fresh Start.
Yeah.
This question says, will you short sell non-owner occupied properties out of state? There's a particular state here that's not Florida.
Yes.
Okay, so they will. I don't know if you want me to say your state.
Well, just
depending on,
call
yeah.
and then,
That state.
Oh, yeah.
we've done it
Oh, yeah,
there.
they'll do that state,
Oh,
wherever
yeah.
you are.
We got that state.
You can get some money and then buy us all dinner. Do you negotiate? Well, I cannot. HELOC, is that what it is? Is that what that says, HELOC?
Okay.
Is that
yeah.
Ted? Did you write in
Do you
Chinese?
negotiate HELOC or equity line of credit
Okay.
too? Yeah. And
I'm
that's-
like, I don't read Klingon, so
That's typically what a lot of our seconds are is HELOCs. So yes, they will negotiate also.
I mean, it's the
And-
same thing. They're owed money and they're not going to get it, so what are they?
Right.
They're going to foreclose
What
in
a
a
lot of-
junior position?
Yeah.
What a lot of homeowners don't realize
I've
is
seen
that HELOCs
I didn't say they were smart.
had some crafty attorney design those agreements, and HELOCs can come after you even after a foreclosure. So it's in the best interest to do a short sale and negotiate it out and make sure that it's done.
Okay. This kind of goes back to maybe some expanding on this point. So how does an investor make money besides buying them, or is that the only way to make money on a short sale? So we talked about you guys pay referral fees if they identify them for you. What other ways have you maybe seen some investors getting creative, legally creative, with short sales?
Well, there's people that are flipping short sales, and there's people that are holding short sales, and, other than that, I don't know how to make any other money.
Maybe tied in some of that marketing to that 75% of people that aren't actually getting the message.
Right.
I can tell you, if I was going to start up right now, as part of not just some wholesale money, I would be really ramping up a marketing program, and I would be calling you, verifying, okay, how deep are you? How many can I send you in a month? I mean, that would be great. Yeah, you're going to have to spend some money and some time, but if that many people aren't getting the message, this might be a great time to be a really good marketer or door knocker, I'm thinking. All right, what do you think?
To that question, I mean, if some of those homes, if it's almost even, where it's a short sale because of commissions or something, that might possibly be a subject too if they're willing to take a little bit.
So there
of
you
a
go.
hit.
So take it subject to rather than take
If
it
it's
before,
not
if
too
it's close
upside down.
enough. I got you. If they haven't missed a bunch of payments, maybe it makes sense, right?
That would be to come to you and figure that out.
They throw it right back at
Yeah.
me. That's good. Yeah, we'll do that. So there's 4 questions here.
You know what did that? I just thought of something now when she said the subject too. Of the first, and we have had properties that the first are full payoff. We're actually negotiating out a second lien just as a settlement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can do, so if you
You
can.
can create a little equity there.
Yeah.
Right, so you pay out, so let's say everything you have in is the 35 that it takes to get rid of the second, and then you've got the first. And you
So
can do
kind of
subject
like
to.
a little bit of a junior Benny buyout where you're basically buying out the second, the first remains, but now it makes sense
Right,
as a rental because you got such a deep discount. That's interesting.
right.
That's interesting to figure that out. You're basically using the short sale process to see if the second will take a negotiated short, and the first says, we're keeping it. Well, fine. Swoop in and get it anyway, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
leave
the
it
first
paid.
isn't involved if there's a full payoff. They don't
That's
even
nice.
care.
All right. So 4 questions here.
Okay.
Okay, it's a little after 9. Are we okay to keep going, guys? Just want to get all your questions out. Okay. Do you expect the tax exemption to be continued after the end of this year?
We're crossing
your crystal
our
ball out.
fingers.
I was just really,
If, all of the realtor associations are saying there's a good possibility, but who knows?
Okay. If not, what effect will that have on short sales?
That might affect strategic people. They might not be as willing to go through a short sale if they think it's going to hit them, impact them tax-wise. However, for people who are upside down, generally an accountant can take care of that. When we first started, there was no tax incentive, and people were still doing short sales just because it's what made sense.
So maybe that tax benefit isn't really fully understood still to this date,
Well,
even
no,
though they have it?
It's a good thing.
I didn't say it wasn't good. That maybe the average seller, if they're in that position, Tina, it's either get foreclosed or try this.
Right.
So the taxes, they're going to get hammered if they
Right.
get foreclosed. Even now, they could get hammered,
Right.
right?
Well, and for some people, it still makes sense. If you are upside down on your house by 100, that's going to take you 10 years to get out of, and your tax liability would be $20,000, would that be worth it, the $20,000 to get out from underneath the 100?
Yeah, some people just have no hope of that. They just feel,
Right. Well, and if they have money in the bank, financially, it might make that might make more sense to them to pay it.
what is the benefit to the lender in doing a short sale?
They don't have a foreclosure. And foreclosures for lenders and the banks and their whole portfolios are a negative impact on them. So they really, truly, and even as much as they tell me they'd rather foreclose, they truly don't want to foreclose on the property. So the short sale is a benefit to the lender also.
Does it affect, do you know if it affects their loan loss reserve requirements? Like in a foreclosure, we're told that if they have a foreclosure, they've got to now increase their loan loss reserve, which means they lose the velocity of their money. In a short sale, can they book that differently?
Well, I think that whole thing is booked like they're cooking the books.
What?
because we do, and through the I Survived, they were talking about that, how they were able to move stuff
Sure.
off, so
Right.
therefore they don't have to pay those loan loss reserves.
Dang banks.
Yeah.
All right, does the seller lose their down payment and all the money paid to the lender to date in a short sale?
Yeah, they walk away with nothing except for an incentive if we can get it.
Which just still cracks me up. You get nothing, but here's some money.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, owner has other income properties also in trouble. Can they qualify for a short sale? Have been told by other short sale experts, no. So,
What?
homeowner, as from what I understand, Des, right? Homeowner. Well, I said Des because you want me to know that you write in Greek. Yes, no. So I own a house, but I have rental properties, and I'm trying to short the one I live in. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
you can short
you
it.
can do that.
Yeah, because it's your whole package. It's the entire financial picture that you have. And so we have had several people that stayed in their primary and shorted their investment properties.
How about manufactured homes? Not mobile, not necessarily mobile, so manufactured
don't
on their
drive
own
away.
lot. Are they impossible to short sale?
Is that like a PUD or a?
No, manufactured home would be like, built somewhere else and tilt up. Manufactured homes are real big a few years back, and they can put them, they do a lot of them in Newport Beach, so it's attached to a foundation on its own dirt, but it's not a stick-built home. Still conforms to uniform building code.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
think-
anything with a loan on it.
Okay. Anything with
We've done land, we've done triplexes, fourplexes, condos.
So I mean, if it's got a mortgage on it, then I think it would qualify.
Lenders asking realtors and investors to make up the loss or have... Did you get that one? Okay. I mean, I'm trying to read the Greek tragedy here, Des. It's rough.
So here's my answer to that question about they want them to participate in the loss. I've asked them to turn over their paychecks. I said, okay, I'll turn in my paycheck if you throw in yours too, and they kind of back off of that.
If you have a buyer in place, can the bank force the seller to select another buyer who's offering higher price?
No. Yeah. Well, okay, so the seller has the right, but the bank is not a principal in the transaction. So the seller is the principal and gets to pick the offer. The bank can accept or reject it. So at that point, the bank is rejecting an offer below that point. That's where the agent's coming up and said, we've already been through this journey and this is what they're wanting to net. So that's probably what it is. I mean, but if it's from the beginning, then they're misinformed.
The last thing Des wants to know is if the homeowner is a licensed real estate agent themselves, can they negotiate directly?
A homeowner can negotiate directly, yes, but a licensed agent cannot be paid on the transaction, so they will receive no commissions or no incentives from the program.
So can the homeowner negotiate themselves if they're not licensed? And is there a license requirement for me if
No.
I'm negotiating my own short sale?
On your own behalf.
On myself with
yeah.
my house?
Yeah, I believe you can, yeah.
Okay. Do you submit all offers to bank, or do you decide which offers the bank sees?
Same thing, the seller picks the offer because the bank can only handle one document at a time.
Okay.
If you give them more than that, they can't figure out what to do.
Okay. In a short sale, the forgiven deficiency is not taxed as income for now. But if the homeowner God, you Greek people, but if the homeowner gets a principal reduction letter, is that principal forgiven taxable as income? And is homeowner protected against pursuit for deficiency?
I think you'd have to check with your tax account. Consult your tax accountant on that one. That's really difficult because we don't, everybody's situation is different. Mm-hmm. And depending on if you had gone through a bankruptcy and you got the 1099, is it still valid? There's just too many moving parts in that. So that's really where you'd have to seek your tax
But the deficiency,
professional.
you were telling me when you do a short sale, you have the bank sign that they won't. Isn't that true? That they won't pursue for a deficiency?
If it's in California.
Okay, here in California.
Here in California, there's a Senate Bill 458 that says a lender cannot pursue a deficiency if they've agreed to the short sale. That's on the first and the second.
Okay.
But if they haven't agreed to the short sale, then the second has the right to pursue the seller if the home goes to foreclosure.
Okay. All right, gotcha. Are you under any obligation to present multiple offers to the bank?
No.
So what I heard you say a minute ago was the seller is the actual principal in the deal.
Right.
The seller still
The
owns
seller
the
can accept
property.
an offer, and then
Right.
it just has to be approved by the
Right.
bank. And the bank can
Exactly.
kick it back.
Right.
But the seller, how many of you guys have got a multiple offer addendum on those? Anybody? Like I see all this time, right? So you might get a multiple offer addendum, but like you said, the bank's only going to handle one at a time, so they
Right.
always tell you highest and best, highest and best.
The seller has the right to, if they get a higher offer, they have a right to tell the lower offer, I've changed my mind, I'm going to take this higher offer. But that's the seller's decision, and it's not a bank requirement. I mean, the bank would like for them to, but they don't have to.
And I believe people will tell you, oh, I have to turn all the offers in. And it's like, no, you don't, because again, like with the Equator system, you can only have one offer in. They can't handle more than that. Chase and Wells, same thing. They're going to work with that one offer.
Okay. Here's a scenario that an investor is asking about. I have a deal with the seller approved when we received a verbal approval from B of A. Then the listing agent, who is our agent, got a call from a new note owner. So we were working on approval with the new mortgage note holder, when then B of A called back to the seller directly to offer principal reduction. So did this note not get sold after all, is their question.
It's probably the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
And it might also be that it's the servicer, not it didn't change investor hands. It might have just changed servicer's hands.
That makes sense. So B of A is the holder.
Yeah, but lately they've been changing over their service. They've been passing them off to new servicers. But then,
Well, they're releasing, part of their portfolio they're releasing the servicing rights to. So we've had short sales that are in transaction, almost ready for approval, and they're saying, oh, well, we're going to reservice your loans, and I have to start all over. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. That 1.7 is the one I went through, and I'm like, no, we're not going to send this off to Ocwen, who will foreclose because they don't postpone their sale dates.
Right.
So part of their portfolio has been reserviced or service released to different, to Green Tree, Ocwen, SLS. So if you received an incentive, you've got the departments in Bank of America don't always know the same information. So the short sale side may have reserviced it, or the loan loss mitigation side, but maybe the customer service side still had it in their queue. So I don't quite know how that came about, how that, it was reserviced, but then you got an incentive.
Yeah, she's the teared person. That's her, right? Can you come in and rescue a deal that's in the middle? Is what
We do short sale rescues. Yes.
That's what we call them.
Yeah, they just have to agree to work with us. That's fine. Yeah.
So if you're working on a short
we got
sale,
that. We pretty much got send out the bat signal and they'll come over.
But if you're working on a short sale that you're not the listing agent, nor are you the seller, both of them have to agree for us to work on it, and then we can step in.
Here's an interesting question. If an investor is working to buy a seller's property, can that investor negotiate directly with the bank, if only for their benefit?
Okay. That used to be, because we knew a lot of investors that had they would get the contract from the seller, and they would negotiate on their own behalf as the principal, but I don't believe the banks are allowing that anymore, because the properties have to be listed with a licensed agent on the MLS. Once you do that, then you can't negotiate on your behalf.
Okay.
It depends. The deficiency for the sellers are really, it's a moot point. If it's $30,000 up or down, it's really not going to make that big of a difference because of the write-off that they get from the deficiency side. But, there's all kinds of reasons why sellers will pick a certain offer. So highest isn't always best. Maybe they have a relationship with the buyer. Maybe the buyer is going to give them a cash for keys. There's all kinds of reasons that would change why a seller picks one offer or the other.
Okay. This question is, how many employees do you have? What's your staff looking like? And are you staying the same, contracting, or growing your business?
We currently have 4 employees, and this week we're hiring 2 more employees.
So you're on a bit of a growth swing here.
We had to kick out our suite mates just so that we could grow.
I'm not sure who those people were. So what I want to do is give you guys just a couple minutes. We've gone through all the questions. I appreciate your patience. We did get started a little late, but we wanted to get all those questions that they had. Marlene, take a couple minutes and tell us, what you're hoping. That's the one thing that you were really wanted to get out to this base right here. Hit it one more time and tell us what it was if we didn't cover it.
I think the one thing that is on my agenda is for homeowners that don't know that they have an option to get out from underneath their current situation, that you guys would meet face-to-face with them and tell them, I know somebody who can help you out. There are other options, because I know a lot of homeowners that are upside down in their home, and they are struggling every single month to make that payment. And it's really not in their best interest. It's not a good business decision. They're wiping out their savings, but they're worried about their credit. And so if we can be successful at getting them out of that negative equity position, giving them some relief from those, $3,000, $4,000 mortgage payments, and get them a fresh start, then that's a goal that I have, because those homeowners don't know that they have options.
I didn't even know that it had changed so much either. Same question to you, Tina. What's something you hope that you're looking for employees? Hopefully, you
$250,000.
Yeah, $250,000 for a deal.
Probably as investors are doing their own marketing, if they encounter a short sale, rather than throwing it away, throw it to us.
Don't lose your shorts,
Don't
right?
lose your shorts.
Yeah, that's our tagline.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Let's give them a healthy round of applause. And again, we hope that the people watching the stream have found this beneficial. Again, we're going to archive it. You can find it at investorsworkshops.com. Next month, our bonus session is going to be Aaron Norris from the Norris Group. Aaron's going to talk about how he handles the marketing for the Norris Group business. So that's going to be something that I'm pretty sure that you're going to want to see. Now, the only way you can get in to see that is you got to have a gold card. So look at your card that you're wearing, and it's not gold. If it's only silver, you want to upgrade before next month so you can hear Aaron, okay? So you can find the details on our website, or you can speak to. Raise your hand if you're with Investors Workshops. Where's Angel? Okay. Where's Sarah?
We're not with them.
Sarah in the room? You can talk to anybody outside at the table. Where's Georgette? Georgette knows the details. We'll be glad to get you on board with the gold card. Next month, we're back to our regular last Wednesday of the month. It will be after you're full of turkey. So it'll be the last one. There's 5 Wednesdays in November this year, right? So we'll be the 28th of November. And so we'll have Aaron Norris as the bonus session, and maybe we'll throw a surprise in there for you for our main interview. Thanks again. We're going to have the meeting after the meeting, which is over at the lounge. Hope that we'll see you there, and go out and buy some deals. Thanks. Thanks, ladies. That was